Hey guys, welcome to this edition of Topics on My Mind for the last Monday in July 29th, 2024. It is about let me check the time, a little after 8 in the morning. It's 8:11 a.m. Trying to do this well. Of course, my mom is asleep. She is still off. We are basically, as far as I know, because the 30th is tomorrow, the 31st is Wednesday, and the 1st is Thursday, which would mark 19 days, and the 31st marks 20, 30 is 22. We are basically about exactly 23 days away from her going back to work, which will go by real quickly. But anyway, with that said, I wanted to come on here and talk about a few topics, and believe me, there are some topics that need to be discussed here that have happened over the past week, especially since, I was gone for about almost the entire week, visiting my dad along with my older sister and everything. So, yeah, let's get into these topics because believe me, some of these do need to be discussed, especially with the reaction a lot of them are getting today, through many news outlets and not just some of the news outlets across the globe over the weekend. So let's start, I should say, with the most talked about and if not controversial situation that occurred over this weekend, especially at the beginning of the 2024 Paris Olympics. Now, some might say the Olympics actually started 2 days or a day prior with rugby and soccer and all that, and that is indeed true. But the official opening ceremonies didn't happen until Friday morning, Friday evening, depending on where you lived. And let's just say there were some good performances, some decent performances. But just like with any opening ceremony of, I guess any prolific event throughout the world that or brings the world together, you're always going to have controversy. And the Olympics are no different. The Olympics are definitely no different, mainly because of the fact of what happened at the very beginning. And when I read about this while I was in Kansas, I was like, yeah, this is not a good look, because why would you do this? Now, some have come to the defense and said, oh, it's not exactly that. It's based around something different, or something similar, but of Greek mythology, da da da. People have actually come out to try to defend this, but there's no defending it. And you know what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the mockery, the disgraceful mockery, the disrespectful mockery that this transgender group decided to put on at the very start of the 2024 Olympics opening ceremony, or at least at the beginning of it. The mockery they put into this, into this performance, it's just, it just disgusted me. It disgusted everybody across the globe. I mean, there are news outlets in France. There are news outlets in Australia. There are news outlets everywhere that looked at this and they're like, are you out of your mind? And a lot of people are basically going out and putting out their own theories, conspiracies, very supernatural ones as well, of some of the things that occurred afterwards. Because some are tying together a slight power outage taking place in France after that performance. And it's like, what? I guess to quote James Rolfe's Angry Video Game Nerd character, the question has to be, what were they thinking? What were they hoping to accomplish with this? I mean, it's already still looked at as a very taboo, probably the most. It is still. I'm trying to find the right words to say, but it is still looked at as being very taboo to be this way. I mean, you think RuPaul doesn't get criticism for what they do? Of course they do. Of course they do, but they do not, as far as I know, they do not support something like this. Yeah, they may live a certain lifestyle and everything, but there are certain people that are like that would, let's be honest, they would basically throw up at this. They would be angry themselves. Because like the rest of us, those people, they too just want to enjoy the Olympics with their families or with their loved ones, those that accept them. They don't want to be looked at and shunned by the world because a group of people want to use the Olympics in the opening ceremony that everybody tunes into as a way to send a message of, hey, accept us, as we are, you're not going to change it. It's like, what are these people thinking? I mean, again, even the fellow transgens and drags, if you will, even they are upset with this. Even they are not accepting this. Because again, there's many ways to get your message across publicly, in a more respectful displaying manner. There's more ways to do it. This is not one of them. This is not one of them. And you know what's crazy? One of the ladies that works for NBC, I don't know if she's going to say something today, if she didn't say something online already, but one woman I know that's going to say something is Savannah Guthrie. She hasn't said something online today, or hasn't said something already on NBC, or won't say something, or hasn't already said something today on Today. I guarantee you she is. I guarantee you she will eventually, I should say. And if not, I guarantee she's seething. She is seething at the fact of how could the network she works for allow this to be seen. Now, some would say it's out of her control, or it's out of NBC's control because the Olympics has partnerships. The International Committee for the Olympics has partnerships with all different, broadcasters across the globe. So it's out of their hands, but still, you can't tell me that she's not disgusted by this. I mean, there was one lady from the France affiliate for the Olympics, or at least one of them tied to it, that basically, ripped into this like nothing else. It's like, basically this, going far, it's like this going, towards the edge and, nearly jumping off. And then there's jumping off. And these people doing what they did, jumped off. I mean, what is with these folks? Are these folks, along with everybody else, are they losing faith that the Almighty doesn't exist? Because He does. What, just because He's not seeing some of the wrong things going on and going, oh, I can't let that happen. What, it's not because He's, giving instant gratification? No, it's in His time. It is in His time. Certain things have to occur. Certain moments have to happen before that signal is given. And the moment of revelation, tribulation, and all that begins. Certain steps need to occur. Certain moments still need to occur. A certain trigger has to be sounded before the rapture occurs. The revelation, the tribulation, all that takes place. It's in His time when it all happens. But when I see something like this is just to me not only a disgusting, disrespectful, and I say this as a born-again Christian myself, disrespectful, disgusting display for the Last Supper, for the iconic Leonardo da Vinci imagery depicting the Last Supper before Jesus was crucified. But this just shows me that there are people that are losing faith because they're not getting that instant gratification from the Almighty. And I'm telling you what's going to happen. Paris can come out and apologize for that debauchery. The Olympic Committee could come out and apologize for that debauchery. But it has soured a lot of people on the Olympics. it has soured a lot of people. And I guarantee you there are born-again Christian and religious people on every Olympic team right now, athletes and coaches, that saw that and they're sick to their stomach. They're going out there and putting on the best performances they can, but the truth is they themselves are disgusted. And I guarantee you this, I don't think France or Paris in general will ever see the Olympics for quite some time ever again until that kind of stuff is, guaranteed, if not agreed upon, to not take place again. But yeah, this is just dumb in a nutshell. It is just dumb in a nutshell. It's pathetic, and it shows you that a lot of people are losing their faith because they're not getting that instant gratification that they want. But yeah, that's all I can say on this topic. Let's move on to something else, because the more I talk about it, the more it's going to get me angry. Okay, so speaking of NBC, one of the big news stories, I should say, sporting wise, that came out of this, and apparently this was shown on NBC during either the opening ceremonies for the Olympics, despite that controversy that I mentioned in the first topic. But it is something that has been known for a long time that was going to occur. We just needed something from NBC themselves to confirm it. And, we pretty much got that. And that is the fact that a lot of people have been talking about it. I first saw it on social media, on Facebook. And then I looked up, saw it on YouTube. And that is the fact that that NBC, again, I'm assuming during the Olympic ceremonies, despite the controversy, they put out a hype video, a trailer, a promo video for the return of the NBA. And they did it with that iconic theme song that we all know and love. And every video that was uploaded onto YouTube that wasn't taken down yet, people have commented and saying that their childhood is back. That it is nostalgic to hear that theme again, knowing that it officially means something. It's not just being played for nostalgia now. But why is this so important? Why are people more excited about the NBA coming back to NBC, especially with that iconic theme song? Well, honestly, it's not just because of the iconic theme song, but it's because of the fact that NBC was always looked at as the primary home of marquee matchups. That's right. They were looked at as the primary home of some of the best, of the best to go against each other. If you had Bird versus Magic, that game, for that night or that day would be marquee and seen on NBC. That would be the focus. That would be the game seen nationwide. If it was Bird versus Jordan, same thing. Magic versus Jordan, same thing. If it was, Barkley versus Jordan, same thing. Barkley versus Bird, same thing. You get the idea. You get the idea. If it was Patrick Ewing against Jordan, you get it. You get what I'm saying. Any marquee name that went up against each other, representing the teams, NBC would say, we're taking that. We're going to take that matchup and we're going to broadcast it. That's going to be, the center of the universe for that Sunday night, that Saturday night, or whenever. That is why a lot of people are excited by this, because NBC back then, and hopefully once again, knew and will know how to promote marquee matchups. It got you excited to become a fan of the NBA. In fact, a lot of people from my generation, including myself, became fans of the NBA because of its run on NBC. Yeah, it had a run on CBS and USA Network and everything, don't get me wrong. But it was because of the primary run on NBC that it got us excited. It got us wanting to, tune in and watch every weekend, every Sunday afternoon, Saturday afternoon. It got us excited. Heck, it made us excited to watch the freaking All-Star game, when it would come out. all because of that, not all because of not just that iconic theme song, but they made it such a big deal. And honestly, with the NBA going back to NBC and that iconic theme song officially being played as part of that hype package for its return in the fall of 2025, unfortunately, not fall of 2024, but fall of 2025, with it returning there, and then you got WWE returning to the NBC Universal family via, Comcast and USA with SmackDown and the quarterly specials on NBC that were probably going to be Saturday Night Main Events. It feels like NBC is acknowledging that what worked in the past to get them viewers, to get them people to tune in and watch their product, their network, the things that worked still work. And they honestly, I guarantee you, at the starting in the fall of this year and basically steamrolling with momentum into the fall of next year, NBC, I feel, despite how you feel about them politically and who they support, NBC is on track to be the top broadcasting over-the-air network that it used to be. It is. And it's because of not just WWE returning with its quarterly specials and everything, but also, iconically, the return of the NBA with that theme. That's why a lot of people, ladies and gentlemen, are excited. They are happy that this is happening. They are happy that the NBA is back on NBC because of the fact that they're going to be able to, feel like, feel like the days of old again. And I know that's something that we of my generation even tell our folks. Oh, you wish for the days of old. But guess what? It's true. You do wish for the days of old because things were simpler back then. Things were more marquee in a matter of fact, matter of fact way, I should say. But yeah, this being such a moment for fans that grew up with the NBA on NBC, that became fans of the NBA because of its run on NBC. This is a huge moment because hopefully, like they did before, hopefully they will again know how to promote the marquee matchups that need to be promoted to be seen nationwide. And that's all I can say. But yeah, if anybody's wondering why people are making such a big deal about the NBA being back on NBC, that is why. Because of the nostalgic, and they remember not just that iconic theme song that obviously seems like it's going to stay, and remain, but also they knew and remembered how it being on NBC made them a fan of the NBA, but also how NBC knew how to, book and focus on the marquee matchups that people wanted to see. But that's all I can say on this topic, guys. Let's move on to something else. Okay, so one of the other big news that came out of this weekend, mostly with San Diego Comic-Con, was the reveal that Robert Downey Jr., known as Tony Stark in the MCU, will be returning as Doctor Doom, as Victor Von Doom, as the Russo brothers, who are also returning to do the next two Avenger movies, have quote-unquote confirmed. But yeah, Tony Stark, he was revealed to be Doctor Doom after the whole Jonathan Majors fiasco caused the Kang character that they were primarily focusing on to be pretty much erased from existence. Marvel, obviously, in the eyes of a lot of folks, made a desperate call to Robert Downey and said, hey, we need you back, here's what we want you to be, or who we want you to portray, and the rest is history. And the way this came about was when they revealed, first of all, and they did this in a very clever way, because they first of all, revealed the title logo, the current title logo, and the release date for Avengers Secret Wars. And Avengers Secret Wars is going to happen in 2027, around May, I think May something, late May 2027. But when people saw that, they're thinking, wait a minute, isn't there supposed to be another Avengers movie that comes out the year or so before? And lo and behold, that's when they decided to show the logo, the current logo they're working on, or they have right now, the logo for Avengers Doomsday. And the moment that happened, a lot of people in that audience were in an uproar. They were happy, like, yes, finally we're getting Doctor Doom, one of the more powerful, feared villains, if not intelligent villains, very intelligent villains in Marvel history. Everybody was excited for that. They had all kinds of Doctor Dooms come out, but they apparently all parted way for another Doctor Doom that was in the background that had a lighter green robe, because all the others had a dark green robe, or hoodie, if you will. Green robe, hoodie robe, whatever, cloak. So they parted ways. Now came, and out from behind came another Doctor Doom in a lighter cloak and hoodie. He removed the hoodie, removed the mask, and revealed to be Robert Downey Jr. And a lot of people were excited about this. Everybody was happy that, hey, he's back. But of course, along with the happiness and the positive comes the negative. And part of that negative is, why? Why not give it to somebody else? Why not give some other actor an opportunity? What's the point? And here's what's interesting. A lot of people have been talking about this since it happened and have put together their own theories, and some of them, I think, could be right on the money. Because they did point out that the Russos, who, as I mentioned earlier, have said that he's going to play Victor Von Doom, quote unquote, but that they had lied to us before. Like they said, Avengers Endgame would not be Endgame, and it became Endgame. So the Russos, quote unquote, are trying to throw us off by saying he's going to be Victor Von Doom. But a lot of people, like from those from Comic Book Cast 2 to the Cosmic Wonder to many, have come out and said, yeah, Russos, you can say that all you want, but until we see it in a trailer or hear that name come out of his mouth in a trailer or a teaser trailer, we don't buy it. And the reason a lot of people are feeling that way is basically because they feel that this is going to be a Tony Stark variant, that Robert's coming back to play a Tony Stark variant that becomes Doctor Doom, because there was a storyline apparently in Marvel where he became a Doctor Doom as Iron Man. He basically became, I think it was maybe Superior Iron Man or something, but he basically became an Iron Man version of Doctor Doom. So a lot of people are pretty much saying that, the Russos, they're trying to pull a leg again without falling for it, and that what he's doing, and that what's really going on here is because it's a multiverse saga, that this is just, Robert Downey being brought back to play a Tony Stark variant, I should say, a Tony Stark variant that becomes Doctor Doom. And we've seen this. We have seen this many times in movies and in comics, to where even the prime individual themselves will unmask the villain they're fighting and see their own reflection, their own mirror image in that character. Heck, we saw it in Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. We saw it in the What If series. Marvel along with DC and others have been known to do this. So it's nothing new. It is nothing new, in my opinion. That Marvel, the MCU, Kevin Feige and the Russos would go down this route, despite their I guess you could say their defense of, oh, he's not playing Tony Stark, he's Victor Von Doom and all that. So, yeah. That was probably the big surprise that really threw a lot of people for a loop because of that reveal. And again, like I said, a lot of people are coming up with their own, in my opinion, and it's early. I do apologize if I'm spacing a little bit here. It's still early, and again, I'm trying to do this before my mom gets up. But a lot of people, in my opinion, are coming up with some accurate theories and conspiracy theories as to why Robert was chosen and everything, because of, I think it's Cosmic Wonder put it, that more dramatic feel that they could be going for, like during a confrontation when one of the characters is fighting Doctor Doom and they remove the mask and then he shows his face and they see it's Tony. And it's like, what the heck? And there are prime examples of that possibly happening, like, Toei, um, like Tom Holland's character, Peter Parker, Spider-Man fighting him, and so on. So those are those prime examples. But it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out as we get closer and everything, and how Doomsday itself factors into Secret Wars, because we know there is one character, in my opinion, that was still waiting on to be cast for Secret Wars, and that's the Beyonder. The Beyonder has played a big role in the original Secret Wars publication, in the second Secret Wars publication, in the modernized continuation of Secret Wars, or revamp of Secret Wars, as well as he played a role in the Spider-Man animated series adaptation of it. So we know he's going to play a factor, but the question is who's going to play him. Now that we know Doom is going to be the villain in Doomsday, it might be revealed at the end of Fantastic Four, which got its own title, First Steps. The question is now going to be who's going to be the Beyonder, because that's the other character they have to look into portraying as we get closer to the release of both the Avenger movies. And knowing Secret Wars not just will probably focus on Doom being a main villain, if not the main villain, but also, it's going to focus on the Beyonder and who that individual is and what they're about. And we'll just have to see. But that's all I can say on this subject, guys. Let's move on to another one, shall we? So, speaking of Marvel, one of the big announcements that came out before San Diego Comic-Con, and I'm sure it was discussed during the Marvel Comics, Marvel Animation panel, if they had one or something like that, was the fact that the writer, the first season writer of X-Men 97, he is out because of reasons, and that they have brought in a new team, a new set of writers, if not a new main writer, who has revamped it a little bit of season 2, and is primarily also going to be in charge of season 3, if there is a season 3, which right now it's all but confirmed to be, happening. And when this news came out, a lot of fans were mixed about it, because they understood why this guy had to go, but it's also like, okay, now it's like, okay, we understand why he had to go, but now we're hearing that this new guy and his team he brought in are revamping, keeping some of the original writer's ideas for season 2, but also revamping some of it as well, kind of changing it around, messing with it, as well as they're going to be the primary people behind season 3. It got people talking and wondering, okay, like, what's going on here? What's going to happen? And I thought about this myself. And what I've come to realize is there's a good chance, and this is just an opinion on this topic, of where I think they would go, if there is revampedness that took place, as some people, as some people have reported, speculatively. But, again, this is just my opinion, but the way I see this going, if there have been some revampedness, is we could see, because of the fact that they are involving time traveling and all that, I could see a lot of the events that happened in season 1 being undone in season 2 as part of that revampedness. Like some of the things, as I mentioned, that the original writer, set forth and secured to happen in season 2 will happen, but some of the other things will not. Like, the thing is, when I hear revampedness, what I hear is somebody, saying that there are ideas that were on the table that were set to be finalized, but because the guy that, put those ideas on the table, to be finalized is no longer there, that's now open into interpretation to be revamped, remolded in any way we want. And I think the primary thing that they might do going into the season, using time as a main focus, is they're going to basically undo a lot of the major stuff that's happened throughout the first season, if not the end of the final season of the original series. That's right. In my opinion, they're going to undo Gambit's death. They're going to undo Wolverine being torn to shreds. They're going to go as far back and undo, Gyric's attempted assassination, if not assassination, on Charles Xavier. They're going to do, I've got a feeling they're going to undo those things and basically cause season 3 to be sort of like a soft reboot, like a soft continuation, reboot, of, of the show, of the characters. Like basically they'll be back to the way they were previously before the final episode, graduation day of the original series. That's what I see happening. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. But all signs, in my opinion, are pointing in that direction. Yeah, you're going to still have Sunspot be part of the team and maybe another member be part of the team here and there. But a lot of the things that occurred in season 1, some of the major events and deaths, the assassination and death of Charles Xavier in the final episode of the original series, I've got a feeling that part of the revampedness is all that's going to be undone. And that's something I have not heard anybody talk about when bringing this up. I've not heard Comic Book Cast 2 talk about it. I've not heard Cosmic Wonder talk about it. It's just something that I believe is going to happen, because when you think about it, again, they have alluded that some of the ideas and premises and storylines that the original writer set into place and secured for season 2 are going to happen. There's no doubt. But that some of the other stuff that he had originally planned, that he set on the table to happen, are not going to happen because he was let go before they could be finalized. And in my opinion, that, like I said, that opens the door for interpretation in any manner they want. And I think that manner is going to be, let's undo Xavier's death, original death. Let's undo Gambit's death. Let's undo Rogue's betrayal. Let's undo all this and basically start with this clean sweep into going into season 3. That's what I feel they're planning to do. But that's just my opinion. But when I hear that, to where people are saying, yeah, part of what the original writer had is safe and secure, but the other part is not, and it's open to that interpretation, and it's caused revampedness, that's what I think they're alluding to. Something like that. To where, because time traveling is going to be involved, that's what I feel we're going to be, leading towards. Something like that in the near future. But I could be wrong. It's just my opinion. But I just wanted to talk about this as a topic because I feel it needs to be talked about. I feel it needs to be discussed. Because this is a situation to where you don't rarely see this happen in any show, animated or live action, to where the original writer that was originally set to be the guy for the entire series is let go, and a new writer and their team comes in, basically allows what's already been established, and secured for the second season by the original writer to stay, but then sees the other part of it not secured and decides that, hey, we're going to mess with it, in our direction. You rarely see that, in animation or live action television. And this is one of those examples to where one direction is going to go, one originally planned direction is going to go in a totally different direction. And that's pretty much it. But that's all I can say on this subject, guys. And with that said, let's move on to our last subject, shall we? So our last subject has to deal with blood and guts. And one of the more controversial moments was at the end, when Mark Briscoe waffled Jack Perry, who was handcuffed to the cage, with a chair straight to the head. And this got a lot of people talking. It got Corey Graves to come online and talk about his history with chair shots that helped end his career, unfortunately too short or too soon. And he ended up getting a lot of backlash from the IWC, if not the AEW elitists, diehards, and all that, to the point that he had to take the tweet down. He may portray an anti-hero on SmackDown as the play-by-play guy, and everything, as well as a heel or basically, he may play a tweener, if you will, when it comes to play-by-play and commentary. But the point is, at the end of the day, he's still a human being. And he might be one of the nicest guys you know, or get to know. But he came under fire for this. And a lot of people, responded. Even though he deleted the tweet, a lot of people responded to this. And despite what Matt Jackson will tell, SI, Sports Illustrated, despite what Tony Khan might say, it does not matter. It does not matter if you've shaved off the chair, which, how is that even possible? It doesn't matter if you shaved off the chair, gimmicked the chair, whatever. You are still taking a shot with something hard. Even, this is plastic here, but you're still taking a shot straight to the dome with something like that head on. No matter how safe or gimmicky you try to make it, you're still taking a shot to it straight on. And the way Briscoe swung that chair at Jack sound, as the old saying would go in wrestling by the commentators, sound like a gun going off. And in fact, JR even said that at times. Felt like a cannon or a gun being shot off. So again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how hard you swing a chair. It doesn't. Or any object. You have to make sure you're doing it with all those right protocols in check. The reason WWE doesn't get, flamed on, despite many criticisms towards them, is because the wrestlers know what they're doing, and WWE, as many people have said, would not allow that kind of stuff to happen unless it passed protocol. Unless it passed the protocol needed to be, to be approved, to be utilized. If they didn't feel it passed the protocol, they'd say come up with something else, or work on it until we can approve it. That's it. The reason people are getting on AEW for this is because to them, AEW's had a history of allowing this kind of stuff to happen. It goes back to Matt Hardy's, match, Falls Count Anywhere match, or whatever it was, to Sammy Guevara, where he fell, concrete-wise, on his head. Could have died, but he didn't, thank God. But he fell. And then, of course, what Sammy did, months ago to the Hardys. It's like, you talk about following safety protocols, you talk about certain things that are not allowed, but yet you still allow them. Basically, the reason people are getting on AEW, JD, Solomonster, everybody, is getting on All Elite Wrestling. Not just because of what happened on, with Blood and Guts, but because of all the other times. It's because of the fact that they're being very hypocritical with what they say they will not allow, or what they say needs to be past protocol before being utilized. And look, I get Tony Khan's a fan at the end of the day. He's a fan. He said he's a fan of the old WCW. He's a fan of the old ECW. I get it. And maybe the fan in him will take over his mind and he'll be like, okay, go ahead, do it. Not realizing that, hey, it might come off the wrong way. But still, there's no defending it. Yeah, Jack Perry might be okay and everything, but still, no matter how much you practice and rehearse it, time and time again, the way it comes off to people watching on television, it's not good. It's not good. So if anybody's wondering why AEW is coming under a lot of fire, that's why. That's why they're coming into a lot of fire, because of that kind of bullshit. It's bullshit like that they need to stop doing, or else they're not going to have, fans much. They're not going to have fans much longer, sponsors, or even a network deal much longer. They keep that shit up. Because eventually somebody's going to call them out on it. Somebody at the networks, somebody sponsor-wise is going to call them out and say, hey, I read all the stuff that you're against, so you should need approval, but yet you're still allowing it? What the hell? They're going to want answers. Again, and it doesn't matter how gimmicky, or how shaved off, you make something before you use it against somebody's head, the noggin. It doesn't matter. If it comes off to where it's gonna sound like a freaking gun going off, people are gonna take it the wrong way, because they're gonna feel like no matter how gimmicky or shaved off you made the item, you may have not done a good job. So, I don't know what AEW is thinking. I get they promote Blood and Guts as the most violent match of the year, and that might be true. But even if it is, there's a limit. There's a limit. I mean, I get maybe if you want to do it on pay-per-view, and you could say, well, pay-per-view is different than network. That's fine. You probably won't get that much controversy, gimmick or shaved off chair, if you will. But you're on network television. You're exposing yourself to many more eyeballs. Well, cable network television, I should say. But you're exposing yourself to more eyeballs. And that's something you need to take into consideration in the future. And this is why I think people are more in favor of Blood and Guts going the route of War Games with Survivor Series. War Games is part of the Survivor's, PLE, pay-per-view. And they feel the same thing should probably happen with AEW in Blood and Guts. Save it for a pay-per-view. So that way, in the future, people would have to tune in to a pay-per-view on Max, if it goes to Max eventually, or pay $50-$60 to see it. That way, even if you decide to do stuff like that, yeah, you might get a little bit of controversy, but not as much as what you're getting right now. But that's all I can say about it, guys. Let me know what your thoughts were on that chair shot, and if you thought the reaction was justified. And that's going to do it for this Topics on My Mind today, guys, for July 29th, 2024. The first one in a while, and the first one since I've been back from seeing my dad and celebrating my birthday in Manhattan, Kansas. Let me know what your thoughts were in the comment section below of all these topics. I will put them in timestamps, chapters, if you will, so you can check them out when the opportunity presents itself. Like, basically, if you don't want to hear me talk about one subject, you want to hear me on my thoughts on another, you can move to that. Also, support the channel, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the notification button. Also, check out my Teespring store, link will be in the description, as well as links to the other places where you can find my content. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are on this edition of Topics on My Mind. You'll also get a video, a version of this on my BW Rosas' Discussions podcast at Spotify and all your outlets, podcasting affiliates connected to it. But until then, guys, have a good day, and I am out.